Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
The CCJ reserves judgment in the Guyana no-confidence appeal cases. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, May 10th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The hearings on the validity of the no-confidence motion against the Guyana government and related matters wrapped up at the Caribbean Court of Justice on Friday, and CCJ President Justice Adrian Saunders told the parties the court would consider the arguments and inform when it's ready with a decision. The appeal was taken to the Trinidad-based court by opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo, who is challenging the ruling of the Guyana Court of Appeal that invalidated the no-confidence motion passed in the National Assembly in December last year. His was among three matters on the vote of no confidence that have been consolidated by the CCJ, the country's highest court. The other cases, filed by then-government backbencher Shandas Prasad and attorney Christopher Ram, are to determine whether or not a majority of 34 votes was needed for the motion to pass. Joining us live on the line is Peter Richards to give us a summary of the arguments made before the CCJ panel. Good evening, Peter.
Good evening to you, Dawn, and good evening to viewers. Well, it's a ruling that will be highly anticipated, because it will have implications not only for Guyana, but for Caribbean countries, especially as it relates to the whole question of what constitutes a majority in many parliaments. The CCJ will have to decide whether, in the case of Guyana, 34 votes constitute a majority in the 65-member National Assembly, or, as the opposition contends, it should be 33. Many Caribbean countries have legislative chambers with odd numbers, and the ruling could well set a precedent on how absolute or simple majorities are obtained. Both the High Court and the Court of Appeal in Guyana had different views on that matter, and it is now left to the CCJ, the country's highest and final court, to make that determination. In addition to deciding on what constitutes a majority, the CCJ will also have to be asked to rule on whether or not someone with dual citizenship could legitimately vote in the National Assembly. It is an interesting situation given that both major parties in Guyana had legislators with dual citizenship debating and passing legislation. Over the last 2 days, the center of the legal arguments had been Chandras Prasad, the former government legislator who held both Canadian and Guyanese citizenship. It was his vote on December 21st, 2018, that led to the downfall of the David Granger-led coalition government, a motion that was first upheld in the High Court and subsequently overturned by the Court of Appeal. Had the motion stood in the first instance, it would have meant that elections had to be carried out in 90 days in keeping with the Guyana Constitution. The Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, had said that it was not prepared to hold fresh elections within 90 days, and the matter was robustly discussed by the CCC judges and the GCOM legal representative. As the arguments unfolded in the courtroom in Port of Spain, the attorneys representing the Guyana opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo, as well as Prasad, urged the court to dismiss the Court of Appeal ruling, and in their words, with the clock already ticking past the date for the fresh regional and general elections, Justice Adrian Saunders and his 4 other judges should now know that the elections must be held at the earliest date. On the other hand, the attorneys representing the state continue to argue that Prasad's vote was null and void, and that unlike other Caribbean countries where voters are given an opportunity to vote for candidates in a general election, that is not the case in Guyana. They say that the list as provided by the respective political parties defines who sits in the parliament and that anyone who goes against that list is automatically declared an unqualified legislator. It is within that context they have placed Prasad, hoping that the CCJ will see it their way also. So after 2 days of hearing oral arguments, the judges will now have the task of giving a ruling for a country that the lawyers on all sides admit has a colorful and peculiar history of elections. This is Peter Richards in Port of Spain for CMC News.
Thank you, Peter. The International Monetary Fund says the Trinidad and Tobago economy has started showing signs of improvement from the second half of 2017. That indication from Director of the Communications Department at the Washington-based financial institution, Jerry Rice, at an IMF press briefing on Thursday.
Because she's taken over
Trinidad and Tobago, we believe it has started showing signs of improvement from the second half of 2017. And is estimated to have actually returned to positive growth in 2018. And we will be updating that assessment in the upcoming WEO update.
Finance Minister Com Imbert had previously questioned the validity of the IMF's growth estimates for 2018, but Rice defended the fund's projections.
These were published in the April World Economic Outlook, the WEO. They were based on information that was available as of early March, including data provided by the authorities and published information from official institutions in Trinidad and Tobago. And again, the team will update those estimates in the context of the July WEO update using information available that should take us through early June, including actual GDP growth figures for the full year of 2018, which are expected to be released in the coming weeks.
And in Trinidad, Minister Imbert is due to present the country's mid-year review for 2019 in Parliament on Monday. Venezuela has reopened its borders with Brazil and Aruba. President Nicolas Maduro had ordered the land border with Brazil and the maritime border with the Dutch Caribbean islands shut in February, ahead of the opposition's failed attempt to have international humanitarian aid delivered to the country. But the industry minister has announced that both borders are open to travel and commerce starting Friday. The border with Colombia, though, remains officially sealed.
Caribbean island. We have only received a commitment of respect and solidarity and joint work with the authorities of Aruba, but not with the rest of authorities that are part of the Dutch kingdom, like Bonaire and Curaçao.
The Belize government is preparing to amend the Maritime Areas Act, the MAA, to restore the country's claim to all its maritime territory. Prime Minister Dean Barrow made the announcement on Thursday as he outlined the next steps to be taken after citizens voted to take the border dispute with Guatemala to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. He said that following approval by Cabinet, the amendments are expected to be taken to the House of Representatives in the next few weeks, and he's expecting the opposition's support.
There should be no problem. I believe that there is agreement that in fact this is the way to go, since the passage of the Maritime Areas Act was done for a specific purpose, to aid in the negotiating process that at the time was ongoing with Guatemala. Now that it is clear that we are going to court, there is no need for the MAA to continue in existence. Once that is done, we then notify the ICJ formally of the results of our referendum and the fact that it is on, that we are now in a position to submit to the court's jurisdiction, and thereafter we have a month to do that. And thereafter, as I understand it, the clock starts running.
However, Barrow cautioned that the process of having the matter decided on at the ICJ will be a long one.
Guatemala is going to have a year to memorialize, I think is the term used, their position. We will have a year thereafter to respond, and even at that point, there would still be a chance for Guatemala to reply to our response, and for us, to respond to their reply. So it's a long, drawn-out process.
Over in the Cayman Islands, opposition leader Ezard Miller says once he vacates his post at the end of the month, he's washing his hands of all the other official opposition members. He said his focus is now on getting his political party, the Cayman Islands People's Alliance, off the ground, as he intends to field candidates in all 19 constituencies in the next elections. Miller announced his resignation on May 1st, charging that there was a lack of cohesion in the opposition group, and he says he has no more interest in building anything with them.
I've tried. I've given that 150%. Right? I am satisfied that I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to keep that group together.
Still to come, Jamaicans are told to brace for extended drought conditions. Stay with us.
The world's debt is 184 trillion US dollars. That's about 86,000 US dollars per person. Join Linda Tessar, the Central Bank of Barbados 2019 Distinguished Visiting Fellow for the 6th edition of the Caribbean Economic Forum, as she helps us understand just how in a world of rising debt, we in the Caribbean can stay afloat. Follow this important live broadcast of the 6th Caribbean Economic Forum on social media and on radio and television in Barbados and across the region. Thursday, May 23rd at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. in Jamaica. Visit www.centralbank.org.bb for more information.
Welcome back. Less than normal rainfall in Jamaica is creating drought conditions across the island, and the island's Met Service says things are not expected to improve anytime soon. We get more in this TVJ News report.
It's been a rainy day in sections of the corporate area on Thursday, but not enough to impact water storage facilities currently running low of the commodity. This is what the Mona Reservoir looked like in early 2018, but now the water level has fallen below 30%. It's a similar situation at the Hermitage Dam. Head of the Met Service, Evan Thompson, says the situation is not likely to improve anytime soon, as forecast rainfall in May is not expected to be enough to ease the drought.
However, the projection for the rest of the month is that we will get near normal rainfall. So we are still expecting some rain, but the mere fact that we have been experiencing a deficit over the past few months, going into May with just normal rainfall might not be sufficient to take us through the summer months.
With higher than normal temperatures predicted for the summer months, it's expected that the water shortage will continue. It's a situation which is further compounded by the road constructions underway in sections of the corporate area. The
quicker we get done with that kind of work, the better it would be as we move forward, especially because, as I said, we are looking for extremely or higher than normal temperatures.
Mr. Thompson says the uncertain rainfall is most concerning, along with the high temperatures this summer. He indicates that heat strokes are possible. So what steps should be taken?
We really just have to ensure that what we do is conserved.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
We just have to be mindful that there are a number of changes that we are expecting to see, maybe not in this season, but in seasons for the future, because climate change is a real scenario. It is playing out in our situations. We're seeing heavier than normal rainfall in short spurts. So we're seeing flooding events, and then after that we have long periods of drought. That's what is expected under climate change. As it is now, the best thing for us to do is to conserve.
Well, it's time for this week's Newsline Entertainment, and Rihanna launches a new fashion label, Buju Banton drops new music, and Grenadians prepare for Spice Mass. Here's the CMC's Marie-Claire Williams.
Rihanna continues to expand her fashion business. The Barbadian star is set to launch a fashion label with the French luxury goods group LVMH. The label, called Fenty, will launch this spring, and it will produce clothing, shoes, and accessories, and will be the first new label under the LVMH brand since 1987. She will be the first black woman to lead a house under the LVMH brand and the first woman to create an original brand for the group. Rihanna has a cosmetics line, Fenty Beauty, and a lingerie line, Savage by Fenty, which was launched last year. Buju Banton today released his first official single since being released from a U.S. jail. The track Country for Sale is highly critical of the power of money and is currently on sale on streaming sites. Buju is on his Long Walk to Freedom tour in the Caribbean, and his next stop is in Grenada on Saturday, where he will perform at the National Stadium. And staying in Grenada, where Spice Mass was launched last weekend. The National Stadium was filled with color and traditional costumes as Culture Minister Nolan Cox declared the event officially open.
The Spice Mass product truly embodies the three primary components of our carnival, which is the sweet sound of steel pan, our mass, beautiful mass, and of course, calypso. This is what truly represents Spice Mass in Grenada.
The annual carnival will be held from August 3rd to 13 and will end with a parade of bands and last lap. Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Shea Hope identified as key to the West Indies batting lineup in the future. We'll be right back.
Show your community love. And there's another rap artist who said that it's crazy and sad that people outside of your community, they show you more love than people that are in your community.
Right.
I know Miami, we show you some love.
Oh no, my city show love, you know, regardless of what anything goes down, any comment. One thing, if I go to a show, I guarantee you I'm gonna rock out harder than anyone that's around right now. Yeah. That's how I move.
Forward to a big old fish. You haven't done much fishing recently, right? No. What's up with this dock?
No, we're in my world. Let's face it, I fish pig farms back in Boston at least 2 or 3 times a week. Okay, maybe I don't. Get it?
Their rods, their reels, my lures. Can't get it, gotta have my lures.
Oh, Coach!
Coach muffed it.
Woo! Okay, well, that's a mulligan for Coach, but next fish, I'm sure Coach will catch.
To baritone, soon them a guess to say he's a queen up on the throne. Pounding them, five stars up on the street, can't stand or defeat. 2030 we still a do it. Every stage show we still a keep. Every big song they a repeat. Them a whisper. We are the fire, fire full of love. Give me the kinds I know, and me say, Jah give me
West Indies interim head coach Floyd Reefer says Shea Hope will be one of the keys to the Caribbean side's batting in the future. His comments follow the right-handers' back-to-back hundreds in the ongoing Tri-Nations series. Hope made 170 in last Sunday's opener against Ireland in a world record 365-run opening stand with John Campbell before hitting 109 against Bangladesh in the second game on Tuesday, which West Indies lost by 8 wickets. Reefer said what made Hope so important to the Windies lineup was his ability to dictate the pace of the innings while also batting deep. The Barbadian batted nearly 48 overs against Ireland and 42 against Bangladesh. He also kept the score ticking over throughout his innings with the use of strike rotation. Reefer pointed out that Hope's patience in both innings had eventually paid dividends for the side. West Indies face Ireland again on Saturday in their third match. The series is their final audition before the ICC World Cup bowls off on May 30th. Staying with cricket, Dwayne Bravo grabbed a brace of wickets in a miserly spell as his Chennai Super Kings CSK booked a spot in Sunday's final of the Indian Premier League with a 6-wicket victory over Delhi Capitals on Friday. Chasing a modest 148 in the final qualifier, CSK reached their target with an over to spare, setting up a meeting with Kieron Pollard's Mumbai Indians in the championship game. It was Bravo's spell which helped CSK early on as the veteran all-rounder snatched 2 for 19 from 4 excellent overs of medium pace to limit Capitals to 147 for 9 off their 20 overs. In reply, Australian Shane Watson and South African Faf du Plessis both struck 50 apiece in an 81-run opening stand, which laid the foundation for an easy run chase. While switching sports now, bantamweight boxer Miguel Hands of Stone Antoine could be among 3 Barbadians traveling abroad in the near future to get training and showcase their talent in an effort to become world-class fighters. This was revealed by boxing promoter Sam Lane, who's partnered with a promotional team from the UK to give local boxers an opportunity of a lifetime.
The young talent, Miguel Hands of Stone Antoine, will possibly have an opportunity to have a training camp, first of all, in Chicago, and then you also got a promotional team here from England who is also looking to take up probably 2 or 3 of our guys, depending on how impressed they are. So I hope they're very impressed that they can all 3 of the boxers. This is Miguel Antoine, Ricardo Blackman Jr., and Anderson Emmanuel, the big heavyweight. So we're very satisfied to be at this particular stage in the game.
Anthony Seeley Robinson is from TST Promotions in the UK. His organization provided equipment for local boxers, including gloves and training bags to assist the fighters. Despite the lack of facilities, Robinson says he is impressed with the caliber of Barbadian fighters.
I've seen a few, the ones that Sam's mentioned, and to be honest with you, there's nothing stopping them from achieving great things. I'm just not sure on whether you have the right facilities over here for them, but you put them in a gym or facilities where they have the right equipment, and Sam there guiding them, easily world champions.
And US-born boxing coach Timothy O'Brien agrees that having access to proper facilities will see local boxers make leaps and bounds in the sport.
I think if you had access to things of that nature, you would be, you can easily produce top fighters. Now, speaking from experience, I've been in this game over 35 years. There's levels to this game, trust me. From when you start out to being a world champion, there are levels. And then every level, it gets harder, right? So here, you could take the best fighter you have here, but once he gets overseas to America, Canada, England, Europe, there's different levels to the game. And they wouldn't be able to compete on it from here unless and until they have that next jump, that next step in the game. And, you know, bringing Anthony on board and his team, what he brings with the promotions and the equipment, it's going to accelerate the level here exponentially, and I truly believe that.
Guyana's Director of Sport is expecting a better performance from athletes as the country prepares to host the Carifta Games in 2021. Christopher Jones explained why he believes that will be in this HGP Sport Report.
With Guyana set to host the Carifta Games in 2021, another synthetic track in the Asian county and the third in the mining town of Linden are set to be unveiled later this year. According to Director of Sport Christopher Jones, this is the time Guyana will take off in the world of athletics.
We continue to increase in terms of our medal count, and if you wanted to diverge away from track and field, if you look at almost all aspects of sport, Guyana yearly is progressing. But I suspect in 2021, with the hosting of the Carifta Games, Guyana, in terms of track and field, will take off thereafter.
The hosting of the Games in 2021 will not only give the country the much-needed exposure, but at the same time will provide more athletes with the opportunity of competing at the Games, especially those in the hinterland regions, since Guyana will be able to pool a larger contingent.
An event of this magnitude, how much does this mean for our athletes and more so Guyana?
It means a lot. It is a significant, it should not be underscored as just a track and field meet. It should not be underscored as just that. It is major. It is that the Guyana is going to be hosting the Carifta Game, the Junior Carifta Games. It means a lot is that at times we have challenges in terms of sending a large contingent abroad, whether to be at any regional or international meet. Here is this, that the competitions are happening in Guyana.
As the clock ticks,
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
The world's debt is 184 trillion US dollars. That's about 86,000 US dollars per person. Join Linda Tessar, the Central Bank of Barbados 2019 Distinguished Visiting Fellow for the 6th edition of the Caribbean Economic Forum, as she helps us understand just how in a world of rising debt, we in the Caribbean can stay afloat. Follow this important live broadcast of the 6th Caribbean Economic Forum on social media and on radio and television in Barbados and across the region. Thursday, May 23rd at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. in Jamaica. Visit www.centralbank.org.bb for more information.
Again, the major developments of this day: the Caribbean Court of Justice reserves judgment in the Guyana no confidence appeal cases. And that's Caribbean Newsline. We'll be back again here tomorrow on Monday. From all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night and a safe weekend.